So as with all of our meetings, we do have a lot of individuals here tonight that will be reporting out. So we've asked them just to go back to back, no questions in between. That way we can get through all of the presentations within a decent amount of time. And then in the back of the room will be tables set up that you are welcome to visit afterwards and ask your questions at that time. So with that being said, we're going to kick off tonight with Town of Paradise Town Manager, Lauren.
Thank you all for coming this evening. So as we come to the 1-year anniversary, we want to report to you, our residents, the progress we have made on your behalf. So we've made a lot of progress. I'm very proud of this community. I can't say it enough. I was speaking to David Samaniego from FEMA before the meeting, and he was telling me, this disaster, people don't really understand, this disaster is unprecedented. And so the solutions are unprecedented as well. Our progress is unprecedented, and I'm very proud to report that the abatement for the debris removal is almost complete. We had today 2 properties that have yet picked a private or the state program, and one of those I heard is on board with the state program. So really one piece of property out there floating that we still need to get on a list, and we're good. That, right? That is unheard of. Well, on November 8th, as soon as it was apparent that the Camp Fire was a major emergency, the Paradise Town Council declared a state of emergency. And then the state of California quickly followed with their own emergency declaration, and finally the president issued a disaster declaration for the Camp Fire. These actions are very important because they allowed funding for the response and rebuilding to start flowing into the town. The funding is not fast, it's not easy, it doesn't arrive overnight, but the disaster declarations are the first step in our long road to recovery. So we're very grateful to our federal and state partners and legislators for working with us. Debris, I will just briefly, quickly step over that because I think we'll hear more about that later from our Cal OES representative that's here tonight, and the Standing Burnt Trees. So we have some progress to report on the Standing Burnt Tree program. The county, the state, and FEMA and the town has been working diligently on a program to remove standing burnt trees in town. You might have heard about this. There will be many upcoming meetings to talk about the details of this program, and I will let Dina from Cal OES speak about this later. Or maybe Casey might touch on that program as well. The most important thing that I think this community did is we met together so many times as a community, and we adopted a community vision and a long-term recovery program with many, many projects for our recovery. We're going to be working on every single one of those projects in the year to come. Laura Page, our disaster recovery director, who is here tonight, has been working diligently on these projects. So we will have a lot of progress to report in the future on that. We will be doing a sneak preview of the Building Resiliency Center, which we lovingly call the BRIC, which is the building that was donated by the Bank of America to the town. That will be our one-stop shop for building permits and every piece of information you need about rebuilding, about finances, about who to call, how to do it. You get to sit down and talk to someone, and hopefully in a nice, comfortable setting, and get some individual help. We'll have housing counselors on board who will be able to look at your specific situation, how much insurance you received or not, and how we can help you get your house rebuilt. So we will be doing that. Roads, we're getting funding to help repair roads. In fact, our mayor, Jody Jones, as a private citizen, her and her husband filed a class action lawsuit on behalf of private property road owners, and that's a real cool thing. We hope to see something come up for private roads. So thank you for that, Jody and Ron Jones. The sewer project, we're ready to issue our RFP for the environmental report. That'll be big for the future economic recovery for our town and also for the rebuild efforts. It'll be better for businesses, it'll be better for multifamily housing. So again, we will be going forward with our sewer project. Many people talked about wanting an early warning system. We will be looking at different options for ways, whether it's sirens, combination of all different ways to notify our citizens in the case of a future emergency. We will also be applying for funding for a study to look at our evacuation routes, all of our roads in town, a fuels management plan, and of course we want to get dedicated broadband in the town. That's an exciting project that we're working on as well. We just want to say at this time a special thank you to our local agency partners. All of these agencies tonight on the stage have been here since day one supporting our residents. So thank you all. They're still here. Look at every single one of them. Special thank you to the North Valley Community Foundation Butte Strong Fund, who has provided a lot of assistance for us, for many agencies and many individuals throughout this disaster. Thank you to USDA, EDA, Butte County, FEMA, Cal OES, and I just want to touch briefly on a schedule of events for the town's programs coming up this Friday. There'll be many events over the course of the week that you'll want to attend, but at 10:30 in the morning at the Brick in the downtown, we're going to have a sneak peek of the building. We're going to allow people to walk through the building. We're going to have a reveal of the Key Phoenix, and I don't know if you know what that is, but we had a local artist in town take all of our house keys of the burnt homes, and she made a Key Phoenix sculpture that she welded together, so we're very excited to see that. We will have 85 seconds of silence on November 8th at 11:08 for the people who passed in the fire. We will then take a short walk over to the Triangle in the downtown and have a groundbreaking for the Hope Plaza project, which is a memorial for this event. And we're very excited about that. I've seen some previews of that. It's very, very beautiful. Between 2:30 and 5:30 here, we will have a community meal provided by World Kitchen. That's going to be fabulous. It's going to be a drop-in. You can stay if you want, come and go, but please join us for 6:30 Friday night here for a town event that will be a very short, respectful, inspirational, and uplifting program where we get to thank everyone who's helped us and move forward as a community. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Gill. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here tonight to reflect back as we approach the one-year anniversary of the Camp Fire. This year has likely been the most challenging year our community has ever and will ever face. I'm extremely impressed to see how much progress we've made in a very short amount of time. It is encouraging to see that our town is almost entirely cleaned of debris, several businesses have reopened, and so many families have returned and are rebuilding their lives and homes here in Paradise. The Paradise Police Department has been successful at filling several police officer vacancies with dedicated professional personnel that have a strong desire to continue to serve the Paradise community. The Paradise Police Department values our supportive and responsive relationship with our community, and we will continue to prepare for the future to meet the changing needs of our town. The Paradise Police Department remains committed to serving the members of this community to protect their lives, liberties, and freedoms. Thank you. We look forward to another year of success and continuing to work with you as you rebuild here in the community.
Good evening. Whoa, that's loud, sorry. Good evening, I'm Casey Hatcher with Butte County, and we were asked tonight to talk a little bit about what the progress has been in the last year and how we're looking forward into the future. A lot about what people talk about in disaster recovery is being resilient, and I actually attended a training a few months ago about how to build a more resilient community and an organization, in this case the county. And the gentleman who was teaching the training talked a lot about resilience, and ultimately what he said it comes down to is the confidence that you have in your ability to do it, that you can recover whatever you're facing, and obviously this case, a devastating natural disaster that has impacted so many people throughout our communities. And as I look here on this stage and out in the audience, I see all of the makings for community, all of the supports that people need to know that they can do it. And I'm so proud to be a part of that support network. And we really try every day at the county in coordination with the town, supported by Cal OES and FEMA and all of our other state and federal partners, to one by one remove the roadblocks that you have standing in front of you. I know they feel like there are a lot, but we hope to remove those one by one so that you can rebuild, reestablish your community, and show everyone just how truly resilient you are. So I think one of the first really big hurdles was obviously the debris, the structures that were burned on the properties. And I want to echo what Town Manager Gill mentioned, and I think OES will talk in a little bit more detail. But all but a few of the properties that have enrolled in the government program physically have the debris gone from their properties. I think you can just drive around the communities to see what a tremendous amount of work that has been. And I think just over 1,000 properties remain to be certified clean, meaning they can be rebuilt. People could live on them temporarily while they rebuild. It's a significant effort, and we're so fortunate to our state and federal partners to be able to execute that program. In the county, we have received nearly 200 permits for rebuilding in the unincorporated area, which is more permits than we process typically in a given year, certainly for residential building. So we're excited to see that people want to build, and again, it's every single day permit techs and folks from our building division working one-on-one with people to help them move their permit through the process. I also will talk in more detail about the tree removal program on private property. Laura Page, the Director for Recovery for the town, myself, and Dina Wilson with Cal OES will have a bit more information at the end about tree removal. But the county is also moving forward to remove trees that are rooted in our public right-of-way. And we've removed nearly 500 of those in the Butte Creek Canyon area. So that progress on getting trees off of the direct side of the road where they might fall and either block evacuation routes or travel routes or potentially injure someone, it's that progress has started. So we're excited to see that continue. We have a number of community meetings coming and set up related to the tree removal program, so we'll talk in a little bit more detail about that at the end of this presentation. But I hope that as we approach this one-year anniversary, and just this whole week I think probably feels a little bit overwhelming, that you remember to care for yourself, care for your neighbors, that there are mental health resources available. If you go to ButteCountyRecovers.org, there are some mental health resources available there. It's certainly a lot that we're all facing, so be patient with yourselves and your neighbors.
Hello, my name is David Samaniego, and we all knew that this was going to take a long time to recover from this fire. And the federal government is pledged to continue to work with the state of California, the town of Paradise, to be fully engaged for the recovery efforts going forward. And I want to give you a little snapshot of where we are today. So FEMA grants totaling almost $88 million went through individuals and families through the IA program. Another one, the SBA, approved disaster loans of nearly $428 million to homeowners, renters, businesses, and nonprofit organizations. Also, another $109 million of FEMA grants went to the public entities in terms of the public assistance program. And as we continue to work through this recovery effort, I believe that we'll continue to grant much more in the future. Another area that FEMA helped was with the direct housing of this area. We have contracted with 18 commercial and state RV parks throughout Northern California, and we leased nearly 400 individual leases for survivors and their families. And we built 4 temporary group sites in Butte County, 2 in the city of Chico, 1 in Gridley, and 1 in Oroville. And we provided temporary housing for nearly 700 families. Even though it's important to talk about what we've done in the past, I think it's equally as important to talk about the path forward and what we're going to do with that. And we will continue to work with the state of California, the town of Paradise, and PID, and other stakeholders for the long-term recovery. And as stated earlier, I think it's important to talk about how we're going to get there. And the person that's been designated from the federal family to lead us in the long-term recovery is Bob Troy. I'm going to invite him up here to say a few words, what that means in the long-term recovery effort that the federal government is going to provide here. Mr. Bob Troy.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out tonight. As Sam said, my job is essentially to help ensure that the federal family is here present with their state partner supporting your recovery here in Paradise. We know that some of those resources seem slow at times. I can promise you we're here working every single day to try and push those resources forward as quickly as possible. We're committed to bringing as many recovery resources and dollars to Paradise as possible, and to make sure that those resources are spent as quickly and as wisely as possible. These are all of our tax dollars. We want to make sure as many of them as possible can come here and help you rebuild here in Paradise. Basically, I'd like to just say 2 things to you tonight. Number 1 is the progress that you all have made is really amazing. To see how much has been rebuilt in the past year and how much progress has been made, really, I know it may not feel like it, but really is amazing, and it really is inspiring. The fact that you all adopted a recovery plan 8 months after your disaster, the fact that you all have really done such an amazing job clearing the debris and are well on the path to rebuilding really is inspiring, and it does not always happen as quickly as it is happening here. So I know that it may feel slow, but you're doing an amazing job. And the other thing I just want to say is that we're going to stay here. We're going to be here for the foreseeable future. FEMA and their partners, our partners at Cal OES, and our state and federal partners that we work with in the housing and infrastructure realms are not going anywhere. We're going to be here. We work with your town leadership, your county leadership every single day, and that's going to continue until we've brought as many resources forward to help rebuild the Paradise that you want. So thank you for your patience and your partnership. We appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Dina Wilson, and on behalf of Cal OES, thank you for allowing us to be here to share in this event tonight. I'm here to give you an update on the activities that Cal OES has participated on in the last year, starting with debris. To date, debris removal operations has removed 10,896 sites or parcels in our state debris program. That's more than 3.6 million tons of debris. Nearly 10,200 of that have actually been returned to county for redevelopment, which is a huge feat. To put the operation and the volume removed into perspective, the amount of debris removed is equivalent to 4 Golden Gate bridges or more than 36 modern cruise ships. Crews have hauled over 305,000 loads, traveling more than 28 million miles, which is equivalent to 59 round trips to the moon. This is a tremendous feat, given the crews were actually stood down for more than 50 days during our operations due to weather and safety-related events. The progress and coordination it took has also been recognized nationally and internationally. An Australian delegation of emergency managers was here in May to take a look at our best practices so they could apply it for future operations in their country. Texas has shared that it took them 3 years to remove fire debris following the Bastrop County wildfire in 2011, the most devastating wildfire in Texas history. And many other VIPs have recognized the work that we have completed here. For Wadham Cisterns recovery, Cal OES continues to support the Paradise Irrigation District on critical activities aimed at prioritizing and executing its recovery work, eventually recovering their water systems infrastructure to provide service to its customers. Cal OES has provided technical and grant specialists to assist in maximizing its eligibility for FEMA funding as well. For the town of Paradise, you all have been working on a sewer system development for quite some time, and now even more so following the aftermath of the Camp Fire incident. In 2017, the town of Paradise completed a sewer feasibility study, which was grant funded through the State Water Resources Control Board. To enhance recovery, support new businesses, and protect the environment, the town of Paradise is moving forward with its effort and is seeking funding for environmental process, design, and surveying and right-of-way permitting of the permit system, estimated to cost about $11 million. We continue to work with our FEMA counterparts on wraparound support systems for the local government and long-term recovery efforts. Many public assistance projects are in various stages of development to restore public infrastructure. The governor has approved rural designation for Paradise surrounding parts of Butte County as rural to make the areas eligible for additional funding from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Cal OES has supported the town and county with local hiring initiatives directly in the areas of supporting housing, public information, and case management and economic development. Providing continued support to and for the coordination of the Children and Youth Task Force to meet emotional and behavioral needs of children and their families. Other state agencies continue to provide support as well. Health and Human Services deployed personnel to engage stakeholders, obtain input, and support behavioral health initiatives, implementation, and plan activities. Highlighting our recovery support functions and stakeholders who are working directly with the town and county officials to look ahead into future long-term recovery needs and initiatives. And finally, I wanted to make sure that you're aware that we could not have done this without the support of the local citizenry, our town and county partners, many of you who are on this stage, as well as our other state agencies and FEMA counterparts. We could not have done that with all of you, and we thank you for letting us come into your homes and help you rebuild.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out tonight. I am Michelle John, the Superintendent of Paradise Unified School District. It has been quite the year, as you all know, and as we get close to our anniversary, we are watching everyone in our schools very closely, our families and our students. So I wanted to give you a little update on what we've been doing recently. We've met with the U.S. Department of Education. Today we were meeting with our insurance company again and meeting with our contractors while we work through our strategic plan. We know that the future of Paradise are the children and grandchildren of all of you out there. And we know that education is very important to all of you and that a quality education will keep our families returning to the Ridge. So if we could, do I have a clicker? Who has a clicker? There we go. Okay, click. So whoops, doggone it. So I want to talk to just a few minutes about some of the challenges. I want everyone to know that we have worked very, very hard this year to get our families back up. We are at close to 52% of our students, which is a record number, and we are very proud of that. But we do have some challenges facing us, and that is a decrease in enrollment when we have a decrease in students at 49%. We also have the housing is a decrease in families. We know it takes time to build houses. And the last one that we can't see is a decrease in rentals. And we know that a lot of young families rent, and there are not rentals available in Paradise. So those are some challenges that we are working on. So we're also looking at increased expenses. We are committed to bringing back students that want to come back and whose families are planning on rebuilding. So if they're in Chico or Oroville or Durham and they're saying we're rebuilding, we're going to transport those students up here while they rebuild, and we're going to make sure that they can stay with their support groups. So we are transporting from all over Butte County. We have carpools from Gridley that show up in Oroville and from Corning and from all the surrounding areas because they want to come to Paradise Schools and stay with their friends and their teachers. Can we go back one more, please? We also had some retiree medical cost increase. I'm sure that everyone's aware with the reduced staff. We offered some golden handshakes for people to retire, and that's a increase in medical costs that we weren't expecting. And then our salary schedule, we expect that to be inflated, as unfortunately we will be having to do some layoffs this year. So, but the biggest thing that I want people to really realize, and this is a kind of a busy slide, but what the issue is that we're facing right now is we have more students graduating than we have coming in. By the time students get to their 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th grade year, they're Bobcats through and through. Their peer group is very important, and they're going to do whatever it takes to stay in Paradise. Young families, the kids need to be with their families, and if their families are relocating, they do need to relocate back there. So we need to turn this trend around to where we know that we have more kids going out every year than we have coming in. So that's part of our strategic plan. So here's our strategic plan. Here's what we're working on, and we need anyone's help that would like to be part of this plan. We know we need to reduce staff. We're working with our architects to update our facilities master plan. We've been working with a communication expert on developing a marketing plan to recruit students. I'm sure you've seen all of our billboards around. We're ensuring that all students continue to have the ability to take the classes required for university, military, career technical education, and work after high school. We cannot let go of any of our programs. We know that. We have to have them available for our students. And we're working with the community organizations to ensure that PUSD is inviting and what we call a destination district. We want people to come up here, to drive up here for some of our STEM programs, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, some of our arts programs. We want them to come here. And then we're in discussions regarding offering staff incentives. It's hard to recruit teachers in specialized fields when we don't have the housing for them. So we have been looking at some incentives to recruit teachers. So, slide kind of came out weird. So that is the update on Paradise, and I'm going to ask Mike Greer to come up for a minute because I want to show you some really neat things that we're doing. We have been working with the Rainforest Project, and Dan Evers, who's been very involved with Sierra Nevada and the big hotel, the Diamond Hotel down there. And we have been working on when we say making our schools inviting, we're really looking at the kids having ownership. The kids are making all these stained glass to make our schools updated and inviting, and they're all having their hands-on projects. So we have this one. We have this one in front of water fountains that's already done at the new elementary school. We have another one. This is at Pine Ridge School up in Magalia that they'll be working on. These were some benches that the kids made for between Durham and Paradise, friendship benches. And this is a business. This is an entrepreneurship that the kids are making with Dan Evers, and they're making Adirondack don't know what you call them, you know. What are they called? Adirondack chairs. And they're making those, and then people can buy the little plaque and have whatever you want engraved on that. And it's a great business that the high school wood class is doing. So we're really thinking outside the box, and we would like all of your help and all of your ideas, and we welcome you to be part of this community. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jason Manley with the Butte County Air Quality Management District, and I have a brief video to share with you. This video was produced by Cal OES with assistance from Cal Recycle and their contractors. It's about the air monitoring efforts that went on during the debris removal process. And although this process is winding down now that the debris process is winding down, I wanted to share this video with you to show that it was a very successful program, ensuring the health of the residents and visitors of Paradise during this debris process, as well as those working out in the field during the debris process. So it was a very successful program, and I'll be out in the lobby with any questions. The data from this monitoring effort is on our website at butteairquality.com if you want to look into summary reports from the air quality data collected in this video. Thank you.
In any debris removal for fires with the state of California, we always develop a community air monitoring and sampling plan. This particular site is Paradise Community Park, and we have permission from the town of Paradise to have this set of monitoring equipment here, as well as another set identical to this at Town Hall. The samplers that you see here, the three for particulate monitoring, asbestos, and metals at this location, and the other 7 locations that have these samplers and monitors run 24/7, and the sample filters are picked up once a day, every day, and we have mapped within a half a mile of every community monitor where active debris removal is happening on properties. And then we can look at that property and see, did we get a high reading at that property, and then we can correlate the two. Really, I want to call it a win for all the crews that are doing the debris removal under the government program, is that we haven't detected any excess particulate matter or dust in the air that has to do directly with the debris removal operations. The equipment set up behind me makes sure that the samples that we're taking are all below occupational levels. So not only does this protect the occupational workers here on site that you see behind me, but it also protects people that are living at the fence line. So as this debris removal is happening, we do what's called perimeter monitoring. At least 3 times during the day, the technicians will come out and double check the equipment to make sure that it's running correctly. The magnitude of the campfire means that we're concerned not only with impacts directly in the community that was burned, but also with the surrounding communities. This is Odin Metal Recycling in Oroville, where they're taking all of the metal from the campfire debris, they're sorting it, and they will eventually take it off to smelters or other recycling facilities for reuse. We have particulate monitors, asbestos, and metal samplers also set up at this location to make sure that the workers here are safe and that the surrounding community of Oroville is not impacted by any of the waste that's taken off of the ridge and brought into other communities. This equipment, like the other equipment at the community sites as well as the perimeter sites, are checked on a regular basis throughout the day. The community monitor is really set up for us to have some security that the dust mitigation and safety measures that we put in place for debris removal are really working well and protecting the community for any kind of dust or emissions that might come into the community. It's also a sense of well-being, of community trust, and of transparency to let them know that we're doing everything we can to protect their health in terms of air quality during the entire debris removal process.
Thank you for being here tonight, and my name is Kevin Phillips. I am the district manager for Paradise Irrigation District. And what a year has it been. I stood up in front of you, I think it was about 3 to 4 days after the fire, to let you guys know that PID was going to be here through the rebuild process and onto the future. And that's what our goal has been since that day, and what our goal is every day that we come to work. The year has been testing and trying, a lot of unknowns that we have faced through this fire that took us a long time to get our hands around. One of the biggest things that I think that we saw was how to develop a recovery plan from the very beginning. And I know that recovery plan has changed over that time. From the first time that we revealed the recovery plan, our goal was to have potability to all the standing structures by 3 years. And I can tell you today that our goal is set that every standing structure will have a letter of potability by the end of March. So, thank you. The one key difference, too, with our recovery plan is that it is developed internally with the employees of PID, with the support of others outside. Our system is unique. There's a lot of knowledge, internal knowledge, that was developed through the time of being part of PID, that we couldn't just hire a contractor to come in and say, fix it all for us. There was a lot of unknowns, and through that time we've developed internal knowledge that was able to help develop this recovery plan. So those employees that are out there every day are the employees that develop this plan to help recover this water system. We've tested over 3,400 sites. 98% of our water mains have turned out clean. 97% of all standing structures that we've tested have met drinking water standards. But I want to let you know that just because 97% have tested clean, those 3% that did not test clean are the ones that we're concerned for. So we're not going to release the potability on a standing structure until we know 100% that that structure is clean. So we're going to test, and we will guarantee that we're going to test every standing structure in Paradise to let you know that when you receive that letter, you can have 100% confidence that the water that's coming through that meter is clean. Over 50%. Over 50% of the burned structures have shown some sort of damage internally into the service line. We at PID have made an internal decision that instead of going through and testing every single one of those service lines, we're just going to replace them. We're working with our partners through FEMA to get those funds paid for. We have a hazard mitigation grant included in our application to pay for the additional portion that FEMA doesn't pay for. But that's to ensure that as people come back and rebuild, they can have 100% confidence that that service line won't have contamination 20 years down the line, that you have 100% confidence in your water system. We just hired a contractor to augment our forces so that as you're rebuilding, we will not be the reason why you're held up and not moving into your new house. We will have a contractor on board that is scheduled to do over 650 service lines in the next 3 months. So as houses are coming out and the applications are coming in, we're working with the town to get the data into our office so that we are prioritizing those homes to come once they get to a certain point on their construction, we're going to come in through and replace their service line, give you a brand new meter, and then if you did buy a backflow device for your interim water, that will be used for your new home also. Looking ahead, we've put in multiple hazard mitigation grants. We're looking at a new dam, possibly, for Magalia Reservoir. We're replacing our B reservoir that was burnt during the fire with hopefully more storage for future fires. And then we're looking at a hydraulic model of our system to key in on weak points in the system to increase fire flows for future fires. We're also putting in brass meters and concrete boxes to help when a future event would happen like this again, that we wouldn't see the depressurization. And one of the big things that we're looking at is our finances. We were 95% rate-based revenues. We've lost over 90% of our customers, but our expenses have not gone down, they've actually gone up with the recovery. So we have a quandary. We went to the state and we lobbied heavily for backfill funding, which we received. We received 2 years of full backfill funding of our rates, thanks to the California legislator. We are now looking at other business models. So you're probably going to hear in the news even tonight that we were looking at doing a study to maybe do an intertie with Chico. The study was to look at the cost associated with the pipeline to see if if it was even feasible to go down the Skyway. At the county supervisors, they decided to back out of that study, but it does not mean PID is dead. PID will continue looking for other business opportunities to make sure that we are viable through the rebuild process and that we are protecting your guys' water rights. We don't want to see another company come in here and consolidate with us or take us over. We want this to have local control, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that local control stays within Paradise through the rebuild. So we look forward to a very prosperous next year. We look forward to supporting the rebuild. We look forward to supporting new businesses coming in, looking for businesses opportunities, and looking to keep the water flowing in PID for as long as we can be. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mons Jensen. I'm with Adventist Health, and I want to give you an update here this evening. I have a slide. Next slide. So these have been the priorities for Adventist Health since the fire. Our first action was to reopen our clinic here in Paradise. That really took a tremendous team effort. Many of those sitting behind me here today and others helped with that, organizations and agencies. We opened that clinic in about 45 days, and we're very proud of that, and that's online. The other thing we did was, thank you. We expanded our services into Chico to serve our patients that had relocated down into the valley so we could continue care for them. So that's in place today. Another item was reestablishing ambulance station here in Paradise. We partnered with Butte EMS and got some funding from the North Valley Community Foundation and the Butte Strong Fund that helped with some gap funding to make that possible. So that ambulance station is now in Paradise on the corner of Billy and Clark. So we're proud of that. We also reworked some of our services in our clinic so that we have immediate care services there now. Those services are available daily, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And I want to be clear that at our clinic we are accepting new patients of all insurance and payer types and all services, so that is available to you. What's next and what we're working on now is to expand immediate care for extended hours and weekends. So that's in progress. I can't announce that here today, but we're working on that, so more to come on that. The main topic I want to talk about tonight is the emergency room. Many of you have probably heard that recently, a few weeks ago, there was a passage of a Senate bill here in California that allows us to pursue operating a standalone emergency room separate from an operating hospital. That's new in the state of California, and we appreciate all the help and support to get that bill passed. The key point is that that's the first step in a rather long process to reestablish emergency services here. There's two components. There's the facility itself, which needs some significant work, and then there's the business plan for the operation. On the facilities side, we need to rebuild our central plant. We have just started debris removal at the hospital. You can imagine the complexity of our insurance claim and such on our campus, but that is now moving forward. And so there's quite a long rebuild process for getting that facility ready. So that's one component. The other is the business plan. The reimbursement and payment for insurance services are different for standalone emergency rooms versus traditional hospital. So we're going to need some help at the federal level to come up with a business plan and payment model for that to make it viable for that emergency room. We're working with Congressman LaMalfa's office and others that will help us at the federal level with that. And then the last item here on the screen is we continue to work very hard to recruit and bring additional physicians into this area, and that will continue to expand as much as possible to make services available for you. The next slide. And then, so general invitation today, we're having a remembrance event on the hospital campus on Saturday, November 9. That is open to all the community. The focus of that event is to celebrate the heritage and healing and hope of Feather River Hospital. We have invited our staff to return as somewhat of a reunion. Many of them have not connected since the fire. Some have transferred away and are working in other areas. So that will be part of our remembrance event. We'd like to invite all of you to participate in that as well. One item in that is parking is going to be a little bit of a challenge based on our RSVP count. We're expecting a pretty good turnout on Saturday. So we have arranged for shuttles and some overflow parking around town, but as much as possible, if you can carpool to that event, that will help us with the parking logistics. All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jake Fender, and I'm the program manager for California Hope of Butte County. We are a mental health support service paid for by a grant from FEMA and the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, or SAMHSA, contracted through Butte County Behavioral Health and administered by Northern Valley Catholic Social Service. We've been on the ground working in your communities and among survivors since November 8th. Our program has three main pillars. The first, individual and household counseling. We meet survivors where they are at a time and location convenient to their schedule, a public park, a coffee shop, wherever they may be living, and help survivors process what's happened to normalize emotions and reactions to the disaster, offering stress reduction tips and resource referrals as needed, as well as helping survivors set achievable short-term goals to get the recovery ball rolling. Since November 8th, we've had 5,597 individual counseling participants. Our second pillar is educational and emotional support groups. We facilitate safe, welcoming environments for survivors to help each other process what's happened, to normalize those emotions and reactions to the disaster, to teach stress management techniques and help folks feeling isolated to re-engage with people who are going through similar experiences. We've been doing a lot of this work with kids in 6 different fire-affected schools across the footprint of the Camp Fire. And a lot of that work has been through facilitating healthy play activities. Lost my spot. And being a friendly adult who can teach them breathing exercises and other stress management techniques to help them through their sometimes stressful days at school. Since November 8th, we've had 46,398 group participants. A lot of those are those school-age kids. The third pillar of our program is community organizational support. We support many community organizations doing the work on the ground throughout the footprint of the campfire, from the Red Cross to the Boys and Girls Club, the Paradise Chamber of Commerce to IAM's Garden in Concow. But we also are based out of the distribution sites here on the Ridge, the Paradise Hope Center down at the corner of Skyway and Neal, and the Miguelia Community Church, who have been marvelous partners, providing us a space to work, and in turn, we help them out as best we can when our other duties allow. We might help folks out to their cars, carrying groceries so we can start a conversation, build a relationship, and when those survivors are ready to speak on what troubles them, they know who we are and where to find us. We've supported dozens of community events, in fact, 24 just last month. Most notable recently was Johnny Appleseed Days, and our plan is to be at 10 different events between the 8th and the 9th in 5 different communities across the footprint. Since November 8th, we've had 41,597 brief emotional and education support participants. In total, since November 8th, we've been face-to-face with 93,592 total participants. Even though the anniversary is this week, it is not the end of recovery. For some, it's just the beginning of a long, tough road, and I'll close with this. Beginning, middle, or end, each of us is running our own race. Wherever you are in the process is right where you should be. You're not alone, and you're worthy of help, and I'll prove it by asking those curious or in need to meet us in the lobby, to call our Hope line at 530-966-7382, or find us on Facebook at California Hope of Butte County. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Maritza Sandoval. I'm the office manager at Butte County Mosquito and Vector Control District. Just to provide a really quick recap of this past year and where we are today, the campfire did leave in its wake tens of thousands of new mosquito breeding sources that attract mosquitoes that are capable of transmitting the West Nile virus. The district surveillance program did observe significant increase of both of those species that can carry and transmit the West Nile virus. Those populations did exceed previous historical highs. The good news is the district did not find any positive indicator of the West Nile virus in the Campfire Burn Scar area, that is for 2019 as of today. Earlier this year, the district we flew and photographed the Campfire Burn Scar area, which yielded a large number of mosquito breeding sources. So those sources included unmaintained swimming pools, septic tanks, ponds, and man-made containers that were holding water. The district strongly believes that with the photographs, previous maps, and the help of those that reported standing water, that all maintained swimming pools capable of holding water have been treated and mosquito fish have been planted. The district did receive a generous donation from the North Valley Foundation, the Butte Strong Fund, which allowed the district to hire additional staff, deploy more traps, conduct more surveillance, and to use target-specific products that have longer residual lengths. So we want to thank the North Valley Community Foundation, Butte Strong, for their generous donation. The septic tanks, ponds, and unmaintained swimming pools, as we've discussed, it is going to be an ongoing source that will be needing inspections and treatments going forward. And the district will continue to monitor the situation throughout the winter months. As we start seeing a lot of new vegetation growing in the burned areas where homes once stood, vegetation will now be present, which will be creating more of a habitat for ticks. New vegetation growth will draw wildlife to the area, and wildlife will carry the ticks. To minimize ticks near your home, it is recommended that you remove any death and leaf debris, keep vegetation to a minimum, and do not feed or attract additional wildlife to your lawn. Ticks of medical concern will start appearing shortly after the first rainfalls and will remain active. If you are to be working in that vegetation, walking those trails, it is recommended that you wear light-colored clothes. The long-leg pants, long-sleeve shirts, well-repellent that contains steam, and check yourself for the ticks. And with that said, we will be available at our booth if you have any questions for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Monica Nolan, Executive Director, Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce. Looking back to just about a year ago, Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce burned to the ground, but we never stopped working for you, for our community, and for our businesses. We were receiving texts and calls while the fire was still going from business owners asking, what do we know? Is my business still there? Can you get me in? And we responded quite individually and provided very individualized services to each of the businesses. We were able to protect the workforce of some of the larger employers, not some, but a couple. And our individual response included accompanying business owners to the DRC to walk them through and fielding an even broader range of calls and inquiries than the Chamber of Commerce normally receives, which, you know, back in the day was everything from how to blanch peas to what time is it, and then more appropriate inquiries as well. So once we got our feet under us just a little bit, thanks to Chico Chamber of Commerce, which prevented us from being a nomadic model for a while, we worked on visibility for businesses and immediately revamped our website, embraced a new logo and a new slogan, and worked on getting visibility for our businesses and providing a database of businesses that were open and just tracking their progress. We worked to provide information to our businesses in terms of forums and resources. And then eventually in April, we were able to partner with the Paradise Association of Realtors and move back to Paradise. So we are now at 6161 Clark Road in Paradise and are able to offer extra workspace. I see Jim over there. He's been working with us in our extra workspace. Just the requirement is must love dogs. She's not the only one in the office. So, but please do give us a call. Same phone number as before, 877-9356 if you need a place to work. Private office closed, with the door closed, and even Wi-Fi when we have power. The Paradise Ridge Chamber of Commerce, since its inception in 1934, has been very much a keeper of the culture of the Ridge. So we all know how important our events are to this community, and it's been a matter of extreme pride and privilege that we've been able to carry on our signature events. And thank you. You all here have helped preserve our culture and the very important social continuity. I know it's said of Paradise that we're a tight-knit group, and we know that. We very much are. So looking ahead, this is the season where we are going to be welcoming a new board of directors. We will keep, I think, all of our old board, thank goodness, and we will be welcoming some new nominees who will reflect a more regional focus, as is appropriate at this point, and the changing complexion of our business community. Again, thank you to our local businesses and the newcomers. Our membership is stronger than ever in recent memory. And on behalf of my board of directors and the business community, I thank you from my heart for this support. So we have been promoting the Bridge business community through our publications. We've just released issue number 2 of this. This was meant to be an annual, but the demand was so high and things had changed so much. We'd made so much progress since June that we needed to issue another one. So this is available in the lobby. We are working with our regional partners to provide more targeted and specific tools for businesses to make good decisions in this ever-changing economy. So look for that. We're continuing with our business outreach walks and meetings. And we're recognizing that our construction industry companies and workers are among the most valuable resources right now, perhaps second only to our rebuilders. And so we are supporting the rebuild through partnerships to provide more opportunities for the industry to connect with each other, for primes with subs, and connecting directly with the rebuilders, connecting the industry to the rebuilders. So that's a work in progress with support from our regional partners. We are working to increase our support of Magalia. Since 1941, this has been the Paradise and Allied Communities Chamber of Commerce. So while many of us call Paradise Chamber, we are the Ridge Chamber, and we've represented Magalia almost since day one. So we're supporting Magalia by working with the Upper Ridge Community Council and recognizing that Magalia now houses the bulk of the population of the Ridge and is supporting our businesses and services. And I encourage all of you Paradise residents to recognize that that dam goes both ways. And there are 5 restaurants up there and some businesses that could use your support as well. We're continuing with our events. We have an online community calendar. I encourage anyone who has an event to post it to the community calendar. I know that the media uses it, so you get a lot of bang for your buck by posting that, and there is no buck because it's free to you, so just go ahead and do that. We're remaining open to paying it forward and sharing our story and practices with those who may find our experience helpful. So that is something that we spend a significant amount of staff and board time on. And we are working to protect the impressions of Paradise. We've been the Visitors Bureau since day one, and flip the narrative. I would encourage the press to take note and refrain from language of fear and destruction. It's beyond painful and not at all funny to hear that Paradise was lost. Paradise was never lost. The Ridge was not obliterated or leveled or wiped off the map. We are a strong community of pioneers who look after each other with assets including about 200 businesses, school choice, beautiful parks, a strong welcoming spirit, and a proud history. In closing, I will borrow from a famous clamper, Mark Twain, and say that reports of our demise have been greatly exaggerated.
Wow, that was great. I'm Dan Efsef. I'm the district manager for the Paradise Recreation and Park District. We have had an interesting year. I'm just going to wave when I want the slides changed, as we all know. But a lot of this rebuild, restaffing is going to be with us throughout the next year. But you come to our facilities, you come to our parks, we reinstituted programs. They're back in motion, and so that's what we really are focused on now. So what do we do now with the future? Next. I have too many slides, but what I hope that they compel you to come and talk to me or come in and give us information to the district, give us some suggestions. Go ahead. Oh. Yeah, 1 week after the evacuation order was lifted, we were able to open up the Paradise ice rink. So we had a tremendous turnout, very amazing evening, just to be there for the tree lighting ceremony and other things. Ice rink's going to open this week, so it's going to be there. We have a great list of sponsors. We have, of course, ice rink and hot chocolate. It's a lot more about community building than skating. So come out there. You don't have to skate. We've set up a table there for games so people can come chat, and just be part of that community. And that's what I think a lot of people are looking for in that rebuilding. We do have a celebration. We're going to celebrate our 71st birthday for the district. And we have events kind of throughout the season here for the ice rink. So we have U.S. figure skaters. We're trying to get them to do a demonstration. We're going to have those gigantic curling stones, so you can pick up one of those and see what that's like. So we have a lot of events, and just come out and reconnect with your neighbors and friends. I will have a date for the tree lighting ceremony later on. One of the things that we hosted this year was a youth services summit. So back in June, we had about 80 individuals come and participate. One of the good things that came out of it is we had funding for Butte Strong Foundation, Aaron Rodgers Fund, North Valley Community Foundation. We're going to have a capacity building grant. So we're going to help coordinate. We're going to help get these groups together and seek additional funding and services. And so that's going to mean a lot, I think, for the community moving forward. For us, long term, we need to do better on our communication. So we've revamped our webpage. That's going to be rolling out pretty soon. We have a survey. It takes some time, but it's about 10 minutes of your time. Very valuable for us. And that's going through what programs you may want, what classes, what kind of parks and facilities, where do you want it within our district. And so that gives us a lot of information as we kick off this next year, doing our master plan for the parks and services that we provide. We have classes offered now. If you're up in Miguel, you can do drop-in basketball. We have fitness classes at our facility, Terry Ash Rec Center. We have Tiny Tots. So we have a whole, and others are added as we go. We are going to put out a new activity guide this next spring and summer, and a big part of that is going to be new partnerships, new classes, new instructors, and looking for kind of forward on the future here. Our parks, I think there are a lot of messages with our parks. They fared pretty well. And so there's a lot of things that we have been proud of that the community's told us, hey, your parks look great. It provides me an oasis and gives people a place to recreate. There's nothing more uplifting than going up to one of our parks and seeing kids playing on the sparkling play structures there. So that's always I step out of my office to do that, and you should enjoy our parks as well too. One of the things that we're going to have coming up are an influx of ideas. This is a Cal Poly project that they had on a rec center. But some of these ideas are going to permeate as we move forward. What do we want to be as a park district? We have to come up with a new model. We've talked about financial model, us becoming a destination park and rec district. But we'll have to do business differently, and we want to hear from you. There's going to be other ideas coming up. One of the things coming up will be some playground planning. So that's going to happen this 2020. So we're going to have input from the community and kids, and maybe some of these ideas here get translated to parks in Paradise and Magalia. Focus that we have is park planning. We're going to pursue state funds for Noble Park, and we're also pursuing a park in Magalia. So that's our center of gravity now for the district, and it's in dire need of having facilities that serve multiple purposes. So we're quite excited about that. Another thing that I think is a lesson for us is, how can parks provide buffers? How can they provide fuels management? How do they provide areas that may be additional areas for people to be able to connect with not only day to day, but just during emergencies? So we're kicking off a study that is going to examine how buffers, open space, parks in California have served to mitigate for wildfire. And part of that is going to be not only just looking at the statewide, but we're working with the Nature Conservancy and Conservation Biology Institute to look at what are the criteria for Paradise, what works here for creating parks that are strategically located that are going to provide multiple benefits. And finally, just a little icon here for ideas and partnerships. We're going to create some things, going to create parks. And, I look very much forward to working with you. Talk to me after the meeting. Thank you.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Arbuckle, Northern Recycling. So Northern's still here. We're still rolling 5 days a week, doing the best we can to provide all your waste and recycling needs with limited staff and resources. I don't really think there's any way to sugarcoat the fact that it just is and has been a tough year for all of us. And I would say as a local company that, we're very proud to just continue to do the best that we can to move forward and help provide any services we can to help rebuild the community. So what's new with us, for those of you who haven't been at the last couple of meetings, we were able to move some grant funds around, work with the county and the town to be able to reopen the recycling center, even if it's just 2 days a week, Friday, Saturday, 10 to 2, at least it's something. It is a need that the community has. It's been, actually, I would say, busier than it was when we were open 5 days a week. It's just really popular and well received, so that's a good thing. And then we were also able to reopen the HHW facility, the household hazardous waste facility, just once a month from 10 to 2 on Saturdays. But that's also just, it might be a minor need, but again, we're happy and proud just to provide whatever services we can as we continue to build and grow. Another thing, recently, we had written a grant prior to the campfire to swap out and replace all the recycling containers along the walkway that were getting all rusted and just really weren't working functionality-wise. So we're actually removing those right now and going to put some new ones in. They'll be there even as the population grows. We have like 32 of them coming in. So if you'll see that out there, they're much a better design. And just add a little beautification to the trail system as well, which is minor, but again, there's something to be said about the fact that you can even find positivity in the trash as we all move forward. There's always those little silver linings, and again, we're really happy to be here and to push forward. And as a company, a local company, we are dedicated to doing everything we can to help rebuild and just pushing forward and doing the best that we can. Thank you very much.
Jennifer. Sorry, can we get a mic to Butte 211? We accidentally.
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Tracy. I'm with Butte 211. I am the team lead for the call specialist. Our director, Tara, wasn't able to be here this evening, but she has asked me to come and give you an update on the services that we provide. So Butte 211's role in the campfire recovery has been to assist with providing comprehensive and accurate public information, and specifically to connect survivors with the relief and recovery services that are available to them over the past 12 months. Butte 211 is a grant-funded local nonprofit organization. We provide information and referrals. We are operating under the Help Central Inc., a local nonprofit. Our role is to be a connecting point to health and human services, and it has been magnified during the campfire response and recovery. The 211 Center responds to calls 24/7, and our team of resource specialists is constantly tracking resources, researching and updating and confirming the resource information that feeds to the frontline call center staff. We post an updated campfire resource information several times a week on a public website, the 211campfire.org. You can also find more than 650 free and low-cost services listed in our main butte211.org website. Butte 211 began taking campfire calls on November 8th during the evacuation, and our call center team of 5 information and resource specialists had since responded to more than 22,000 live calls and text messages from fire-impacted individuals. Our team has listened to stories of surviving and stories of recovery, and our hearts are very swelled with pride in the resiliency of our communities. The 211 staff have provided people with immediate referrals to everything from shelter locations to pet recovery, transportation options, ongoing and changing distribution centers, housing options, mental health and crisis counseling, basic needs like food, clothing, water, where to access diapering supplies, eyeglass and denture replacements, how to apply for emergency financial assistance, holiday assistance, returning home information, tree removal, health care, debris cleanup programs, RV and trailer repairs, spot locations, and so much more. 211 call specialists have provided callers with the official real-time ongoing advisories on weather-related warnings, such as evacuations for potential floods, debris flow, PSPS power shutoff events, and more. Being that the Camp Fire was an unprecedented event on a scale that we couldn't even dare imagine, Butte 211, like many other organizations and agencies, had expanded operations to meet the urgent and ongoing needs of our community. This means that since November 8th, Butte 211 has tripled the number of people that we serve and has tripled the number of staff working for 211 as well. Since November, we've been working hand in hand with Camp Fire Long-Term Recovery Group, the American Red Cross, FEMA, Cal OES, the North Valley Community Foundation, the Town of Paradise, the United Way of Northern California, and a multitude of other local agencies that are responding to provide assistance to survivors. Throughout the past 12 months, special projects have been implemented spontaneously at Butte 211 in response for the immediate needs of survivors. This includes 211 was providing Airbnb vouchers for persons who didn't have shelter, had no kind of short-term or long-term plans made. We were also able to dispatch free rides using the Lyft program for a while. And then we created an automated texting line for the Butte County Office of Education with information on the school re-enrollment process and creation of an outreach text line that we are currently reaching out to more than 10,700 survivors who have opted in to receive information and updates through this outgoing text messaging. It is the Camp Fire text line. And our most recent text message that we had pushed out on the Camp Fire text line was regarding the recent PSPS event and also messages highlighting the upcoming anniversary events and services. In June, as a result from the strategic planning of the Camp Fire Long-Term Recovery Group and the North Valley Community Foundation and 9 other local agencies were funded to provide ongoing disaster case management services. 211, we agreed to provide the intake and assessment for survivors in need of disaster case management. And the goal of this collaborative multi-agency effort is to connect survivors to available local disaster case managers. We are also partnering with the same 9 disaster case management agencies to help with the emergency financial assistance applications to distribute the Butte Strong and American Red Cross relief funds for direct assistance to survivors. And there had been an unprecedented surge of calls to 211 from survivors needing assistance from the emergency financial assistance and disaster case management. So we opened up an online intake form that can be completed online, and you can find that at bit.ly/211 intake. And we currently had more than 2,000 people who have completed the online form, and many have complex and ongoing needs, and many are still not stably housed. So we understand our community is very much still recovering. Although the 9 local agencies and their case managers are working hard and serving their maximum caseload the best they can, the demand and the need for access to case management services far exceeds the capacity of the case management system as it currently stands. This means that survivors are experiencing an extended wait for getting assigned to a disaster case manager or getting the financial help for immediate and urgent needs. So recently, our director of Butte 211 joined with other local partners from the Camp Fire Long-Term Recovery Group to inform the Butte County Board of Supervisors about the urgent need for additional case managers. And we continue to be in communication with the people that are signed up for disaster case management and the emergency financial assistance. And we can help them with immediate resources to fulfill some of the immediate needs. And our hopes for next year, we have some upcoming things happening. Well, not quite at next year. We have a annual holiday assistance guide, which I want to tell you about, which is before next year, obviously. And it will be posted online probably at the end of this week. The guide will include programs and services for holiday giveaways, meals, baskets, and free events, as well as we're hoping there's going to be some children's gift, adopt a child gift programs. And our hopes for next year continue working with our partner agencies, providing accurate information and referrals for the ongoing recovery, and we look forward to helping build the systems needed to make a strong recovery for all of us. And if you have any additional questions about any programs or services, we are in the table in the back, Butte 211. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Brown. I'm the Butte County Assessor. I want to talk to you tonight about where we are in this process and some of the common questions that we're getting from taxpayers. So all the tax bills are out now. We reviewed the land value, and we also took off all the structure values for the structures that were destroyed. We have removed nearly $3 billion just within the town of Paradise alone from the tax roll. Which leads me to one of the common questions we're getting right now is, why am I getting a tax bill? Didn't Governor Newsom waive taxes for the next 3 years? And unfortunately, he doesn't have that authority. So what they're doing is they're going to backfill the resources that the county is not getting, but unfortunately, the tax bills are still out there and they're still valid. For the people who are waiting, who have applied to have their base year value transferred to another property, the process has taken a little bit longer than we expected because we've had so many requests. Since January, we've received about 800 requests to transfer the value from one property to another. That requires 2 different appraisals, so the process takes a little longer than a normal change in ownership. We're trying to work through those as quickly as we can. You may end up on your replacement property having to pay the first installment of taxes until we do the reappraisal, and then you'll get either an adjusted second installment or a refund, depending on how it shakes out. But you may have to pay the first installment, and so don't let that go by. That's probably one of the biggest questions we're getting right now is, why does it take so long? You know, I've only got 14 appraisers, and we had a 300% increase in our workload in Chico, over 100% increase in our workload in Oroville, and so it's just taken us a little time to get this stuff done. But I have a fabulous staff, and we will get it done. It's going to take us a little longer. Any questions you have about values on your tax bills, please direct them to our office. You can either send an email through our website, any questions you have, and we'll answer them, or just call directly and speak to an appraiser if you have questions about your value. I think they did a pretty good job of trying to reduce land values to where they thought they were selling, but it's not an exact science. So there can be disagreements over the value. If you don't agree with your value, please contact us. So if you have any other questions, I'll be in the back, and I'll be here for as long as I need to answer questions. So, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Genevieve Harrington. I'm here on behalf of the Butte County Clerk Recorder, Registrar of Voters. Just here to share some information with you. And yes, that's how I want to do it. Okay, so if you aren't aware, if you lost vital records, they can be replaced at no cost, so that's birth, death, or marriage certificates. Well, that didn't come out the way it was supposed to, but this is a breakdown of the free services that we've provided over the last year, and the majority of them are official records. So you can also replace copies of deeds, reconveyances, and other records at no cost as well. And we have a great archive research area that has been very busy over the last year helping people do that research and get the records they need. Okay, so moving to elections, we kind of narrowed it down to 4 situations. I know people are in various stages of recovery, but displaced voters who intend to rebuild and return to the affected address, displaced voters who do not plan to return to the affected address,
displaced voters who have not decided, which many people haven't actually made that decision, and then those who've already updated their information at the DMV or through the post office. So there's specific instructions for each of those situations, and I have a lot of information in the back. So if you have questions on that, you can always go to the website and giving us a call at the office. We definitely have people there who can answer your questions. And so just a little update, the elections in Butte County is changing. So the spring primary coming up next year is going to be our first all vote by mail. So whether you registered as vote by mail or not, everybody's receiving a ballot. And so each voter receives a ballot. They're sent out 29 days before the election, and if you can put it in the mail, you don't actually have to bring it down anywhere. The postage is paid, but if you do want to bring it in person, there are ballot boxes that are going to be available 28 days prior to the election, so you can just go drop it off. And then 10 days prior to the election, there'll be vote centers available. Go to the next slide. And so the vote centers, they're fully staffed. So there's people there, they can update your information. And so those are available for 10 days rather than the one day that they used to be open. So this is effective, the primary elections in March. And just, if you aren't sure if your information's updated, give us a call or, just do it again. And so that's all I have for you tonight. So again, if you have any other questions or need something specific to your situation, just see me in the back or come visit us at 155 Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Page with the Town of Paradise, and I'm here to talk about trees. So we heard a lot of good news tonight on some of the programs that we've been working on with the county and the state and FEMA and our federal partners. And we've had great success with the debris removal operation, as we've talked about earlier this evening, and we expect that same thing with our tree removal operation. So the good news is the FEMA estimates and Cal OES that there could be as many as 280,000 trees eligible under this program in the burn scar. So what's wonderful about that is, as a community, we are going to get out a lot of dead, standing, burnt trees with this program, and that is going to be fabulous. We expect to, like I said, have the same success that we've had with the debris operations. Certainly there'll be bumps along the way, but we will work those out. We're all working together and we want to work with you. So we want to have a close relationship, but we do need your participation. This is a mandatory program, so everybody will need to participate. And we'll be talking about that a little more as we go on this evening. What I wanted to bring to your attention is that we are having a number of community events that will be just specifically addressing this tree removal program. The first one will be tomorrow night, but there are other opportunities. We've listed them here, but we also have flyers at the ROE table back here, so please pick them up so that you'll know when those are going on, so that you can make one of those if you have any questions. Also, we have different locations for the ROE and inspection access forms where that they can be picked up and delivered. So there's lots of opportunities to participate in the program. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Casey Hatcher with Butte County to the podium to discuss some more of the details. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Dina Wilson with Cal OES and I are going to do we'll do the Casey and Dina show here. How's that work? So we're going to try to keep this brief because, as you saw on the previous slide, there are community meetings set up to provide information specifically about tree removal. So we'll do a longer, more in-depth presentation. We'll answer more questions directly from the audience. So this is just really a brief introduction, and then there's folks in the lobby to answer questions, hand out ROEs, collect them if you'd like. So as Laura mentioned, this is a tremendous opportunity to remove the dead, burnt trees that are left in the community, that are rooted in private property, that are a threat to fall onto the public roadways. The town and the county both adopted ordinances making a mandatory requirement that if you have property, if you own property in the burn footprint, and you have a hazard tree rooted in your private property, and hazard tree means it's so substantially burned by the fire that its structural integrity is compromised and it poses a threat to fall on the road, at this point on a public road, then you have to remove it. And you have two options to do that. It's very similar to debris removal. Your first option is to enter the government program. So you do the same thing that you did if you entered the government program for debris removal. You complete the right of entry form, you provide the supporting documentation, you turn it in a minute, Dean is going to talk a little bit about how that process works. If you want to identify and remove the trees yourself, then you fill out an inspection access form and you enter the private program. Some people are going to say, well, I already removed my trees. I mean, we're a year into this recovery, right? A lot of people have done a lot of different things on their property. We need you to enter the private program whether you've already removed the trees or you intend to identify and remove the trees yourself. It's an indicator that you've done something, because at this point, every parcel that's along a public roadway within a particular buffer, we're assuming has some sort of hazard tree. We need to send an inspector out and confirm when those trees are gone. So if you've already removed them, that's great. If you intend to remove them yourself, that's great too. But you still need to enroll in the private program. That's a one-page form. It's collected and submitted in the same locations as the ROE Center. So it's one of the two programs. The primary difference is that if you enter the private program and you intend to remove the timber yourself, you can keep it and utilize it on your property. If you enter the government program, the government is going to identify, fell, and take the timber away and take it out of the community. But if you want to use it, maybe you want to chop it into firewood, maybe you want to chip it and broadcast it for erosion control, maybe you want to mill it and use it for non-structural lumber. Whatever the utilization is that you want, you can do that if you enter into the private program. If you enter into the private program, you have to identify the appropriate hazard trees and remove them. There's no reimbursement of costs. That's all at your own cost. If you've already removed trees, there is no reimbursement for the work that's already been done either. If you, at the end of having removed those, there will be a compliance inspection, and there will be a registered professional forester who will come out and confirm that you've removed all of the hazard trees on the property and confirm that you're in compliance with either the town or the county's ordinance. But if you enter the government program by submitting the fully completed right of entry form with all of the correct supporting documentation, including the declaration page for your insurance and information to support the ownership, then you will enter the state's program.
Thank you, Casey. Similar to the debris removal program, we will have a right of entry form from you. We will go through, make sure it's got all the correct information. At that time, we will go through and start scheduling our tree removal process. And basically, it's pretty simple. It's a little less than what we did for the debris removal program. So we will have an assessment team go out and evaluate your property. And that assessment team includes a professional registered forester or arborist that is an expert in the field to take a look at the trees on your property to deem which ones are going to be hazardous and could fall on the public right-of-way or public improved property. And those trees are going to be marked and they're going to be cataloged so that when the the tree removal crews come in, they know exactly which trees are going to be felled and removed from your property. After those trees are removed, then we will have someone come out to your property to make sure that we have removed all of those hazardous trees, do a final sign-off, and return it back to the county so we can return the property back to you. Sounds pretty simple, right?
Pretty simple.
Yep.
So can people be on their property when you identify the trees or when the crews are out there to fell the trees?
Yes, you can be on your property during that process. We're not going to specifically ask you to leave, but we do ask that you adhere to our safety requirements. Tree removal is inherently more dangerous at times than debris removal, and so we will ask you to make sure that you step back so that our crews can work effectively and safely to do that. Additionally, we want to make sure that you understand that when you enter the government program, and we go through and identify those trees that are deemed a hazard to the public right-of-way, there is no debate about that. So once they've been identified, they have to be removed.
The point here is to take the trees that are a hazard. We've heard from so many community members concerned about trees on their neighbor's property or trees that could fall into the roadway. Throughout our communities, there are tens of thousands of trees that are so burnt that they could fall. They could fall and hurt someone. They could fall and block a roadway during another disaster. If that were to happen, they could block access in and out of our communities. The whole goal here is to make sure we identify the hazard trees and take them away. And we are using professionals to do that, whether it's in the government program or ultimately whether it's the inspector in the private program. The registered professional forester will be the individuals that are identifying which of the trees are hazardous and need to be removed. One additional piece, two additional pieces that I want to mention. I want to talk about permits, and then I want to talk about reimbursement from insurance. The way that it works is that if you want to rebuild or have some sort of permit within the town or the county, the permit application can be submitted, but the permit can't be issued or finalized until you enroll in a program. So it's a tiny bit different than debris removal because it had to be complete. The whole debris removal had to be complete and certified clean and turned back to you before you could get your permit issued. But you just have to be enrolled in a program, which means submitting either a right of entry form for the government program or submitting the private inspection access form for the private program. So it's a little bit different than debris removal. Also, there is no prohibition from living on the property temporarily, so folks who are back on their property already living there temporarily can stay there. Again, you'll have to be mindful of the crews. You may have to leave while they do the work, but there's no prohibition from living temporary or having temporary utilities on the property for the tree removal program. Similar to debris removal, if you enter the government program, the county will ultimately need to make sure that there's no duplication of benefit, that taxpayer dollars don't pay for something that private insurance dollars are intended for. So if you have insurance for tree removal, you'll submit that documentation with your right of entry form. Very similarly, we will ultimately come and look for collection. So we encourage everybody to, if you have tree removal insurance, there are trees that are not eligible for this program. If they don't affect the public right-of-way at this point, they're not eligible for the program. So if you have tree insurance, we would encourage you to use that tree insurance to take out other trees that aren't eligible for this program so that ultimately you don't owe anything back to the government, so that we're not duplicating any benefit for these trees that could fall into the right-of-way. Anything else?
No, you've covered it great.
Okay,
Thanks.
great. We'll be in the lobby to answer questions, and we'll have so many more community meetings and videos, and you'll be sick of Dina and I, but before you know it. So thank you so much, and I owe this microphone back to Valerie. Thank you.
All right, so before we wrap up, and again, you can go back to the lobby and speak with anyone here. They will be at their designated tables. First of all, I'd like to give a huge thank you to all of the folks on the stage who month after month, despite their very heavy workloads, have made the dedication to show up here for you every single month. So I'd like us to give them all a big round of applause. I want to make sure we also thank your town council, who also has been here every single month, as well as your local supervisor, Doug Teeter. I see him consistently. So thank you to them. And most of all, thank you to all of you, because you're the reason why we're here. And number two, if you weren't here, this would be a pretty boring meeting. So thank you all. We will be here again next month, so Tuesday, December 3rd, right here, same time. And I hope to see all of you Friday at the events. So have a good week.